How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I took 0 trades on either SPY or QQQ. The morning it was really rangy, so didn't take any trades. Wasn't really interested. There were a few setups that I would have taken or would have liked to take and that I did not. Particularly one on QQQ. We'll take a look at both SPY and QQQ. Right now we're looking at the daily time frame. You can see that we set a lower high, had a bit of a pullback. Bullish day overall today, mainly fueled by after hours and kind of power hour, because the majority of the day was pretty choppy. We can look at some of the things I was watching here. So coming into the day, one of my main watches was this resistance that we had from the previous 2 days, and this support that we had around 495 to 494.5 or so. This support was an area that had held a couple times previously, including the low of day yesterday on Tuesday, and so was kind of watching to see if we got a breakout or if we broke down. The whole morning we didn't. We kind of stayed in this range. We'll look into that. You can see that after power hour we kind of came down, touched this zone very briefly. From there we ripped and continued to soar higher in the after hours, kind of getting not too far away, just a few dollars from that all-time high, so setting us up for an interesting day tomorrow nonetheless. Similarly, we can look at QQQ real quick. Very similar setup to QQQ, right? We had the previous day low around 424 or 423.5. I had a zone from 424 to 423.5, so another 50-cent zone. Same thing, kind of that resistance descending, and us kind of being consolidated in this area. QQQ got a bit more of a breakdown, but same after hours rip, end of the day rip. So we'll take a look at SPY. We'll look at why I did not take any trades for the day. So right off the bat, one trade that I could have been interested in is this rejection here. It rejected out of a zone that I was watching. Not super clear on the 5-minute, but you can tell that we did wake up once, twice, and then 3 times, failing to set a higher high before kind of falling down, setting a lower low. We can take a look at that on the 1-minute. I've been really liking the 1-minute. I think it gives a better insight than the 2-minute. So this could have been an actionable trade here. I did not take it, but you can see that we got 1, 2, 3 wicks up into this area. Each time not showing a lot of strength as we approach that previous high area that we'd already rejected in the morning. Come up, show those long wicks, show some weakness, and then we get a pullback and set a new low a day. So that could have been an actionable trade. Would have been decent. Not the biggest move. You can see, say you got in somewhere in here. That's, I suppose, like a 70-cent move or so. So not bad. You probably would have got a solid 30% or so, 30, 40 maybe. Contracts weren't moving super well today. Implied volatility was pretty high, especially on QQQ. SPY was a bit better. QQQ had really high implied volatility due to NVIDIA having earnings after hours. NVIDIA had extremely high volatility, and so options on QQQ were pretty jacked up, and so that kind of kept me away from QQQ for most of the day. The other thing on SPY here is we did get a retest of this resistance. So that resistance that I was showing earlier on the 30-minute chart, this here, we did get a rejection off of it here. Once again, I wasn't interested in taking this. I mean, I considered it, but the reason I didn't is because we had this zone right here below. We got a big spike in volume and a very bullish candle breaking above this zone. And then for about 20 minutes or so, we kind of chopped sideways. We can also look at the 1-minute chart as well. Volume just really died down. So we had this big surge in volume. You can see that increase in volume as we pump up into that area. And then we just have this chop in here. And that is all very low volume. If you compare it to the rest of the day, pretty much the lowest volume that we had up to that point. So got a big breakup, got really low volume and just a lot of horizontal action. So I wasn't very interested in taking any trades there. Although that rejection off that resistance did work, you know, it dropped 60 cents or so, 50, maybe close to $1. Yeah, close to $1, maybe a little less, maybe about 70, 80 cents. So another move that would have been not too bad. So those were kind of the two trades this morning that I look back on and say that, you know, that could have been a potential trade for me. According to what I watch, you know, weakness when we go up into one of these supply zones, that could have been a trade. Some weakness as we were rejecting off that higher time frame resistance, that could have been a trade. Potentially after this 5-minute close here where we retested again and closed weak, you know, that could have been a trigger point to enter here on this candle. But, you know, no trades taken. You can see for a lot of this, it was a lot of sideways action. We didn't really have a trend, right? We weren't really setting higher highs, higher lows, or lower lows, lower highs. It was high, back down to the low, slightly higher high, back down to a new low, back up towards previous high, back down to a new low. So the day was pretty choppy. It wasn't the easiest thing to trade. There are trades in there though, nonetheless. We can take a look at QQQ as well. Similar setup, like I mentioned, we had that trend line, and then we had that support down below. The one trade that I wish I had taken, and it's always easier to say in hindsight, right? It's always easier to look back and say, oh, I wish I took this trade, but it was a nice setup. And that was this come down retest of yesterday's low and hold. A few reasons why. You can see that volume increases as we come down and hold, as volume is at its highest here in the previous two candles. So we got this rejection, we come down, we hold that level on the 5-minute, and we have higher volume than the previous candles that brought us there, but we have a much smaller candle body, right? And we did wick down and hold above that level. So this could have been a good, like I said, a good indicator. Enter on this candle here, and we set a new high of the day and made it all the way up to this next zone before pulling back. So this trade was one that I missed. I was debating taking it. I just didn't. And that was because maybe some hesitation, maybe some doubt. But I think, you know, this candle also on the 1-minute would have been a really good kind of indicator or a trigger to take that trade off of, because we didn't make a new low. So we tested that level again, printed a really bullish candle, like a not quite a hammer, but similar, with increasing volume. You can see that that volume is higher than the previous candles. So entering on this candle here would have been solid, stop below the low a day, pretty tight risk to reward. Just looking at the 1-minute, you know, obviously would target this area right here, this like 424.4. And I say that because this is an area that you can see that we wicked in, held support until we broke down and set that new low a day. So that would be an area that I would target right there. And you can see we came up and hit that pretty much exactly before having a slight pullback and then continuation to a new high a day and wicking just right off that next zone. So that was a nice trade. That was a nice move. It was over $1 swing. It was like $1.50 or so, maybe even more. Let's look from top, 425.3, 423.5. So yeah, almost $1.50 or $2 move. So crazy move. That would have been really nice. Like I said, hindsight 2020, right? Always easier to look back and say, oh, I wish I took this, or this was so obvious. But that is something that I should be watching, right? That increase in volume, that test and hold of that level, and then reversal. So that's something that when it played out, you know, I kind of kicked myself for not entering that trade, because it was an opportunity with pretty tight risk to reward. You know, obviously if it broke low day and continued to break low, didn't hold that yesterday's low day, that would be an indication that we're still weak and to get out of that. But from there, you can see we just ranged, right? We just bounce. And so you could trade it. But like I said, the implied volatility was really high. And also you run the risk of getting in, like in here, you know, say you're like, oh, we bounced. We saw a lot of buyers in this area. We got a really large rally out of this area earlier. we come down, we retest it, we see these longer wicks on the bottom, I'm gonna get in calls, and then you can be in, 40 minutes of sideways chop. So that did push up. So even if you did enter in here, if you held long enough, you would have made money. But nonetheless, just not the greatest day. Usually we want to see some sort of trend. We want to see some sort of identifiable weakness or strength that we can base our trades off of. And this was kind of a more difficult, rangy, tricky day. So no trades. This one was the best trade for sure that I missed. That was a nice setup, and that's something that I would look for. So I think just continuing to spend time charting these zones, seeing how things play out, watching the 1 minute, because that's relatively new to me, using the 1 minute rather than the 2 minute. So just getting familiar and comfortable with all these things, and just taking the time to do so. So I'm not mad that I didn't take any trades today. I'm rather glad that I didn't take a bad trade and try to force something. So overall, decent day in terms of just watching and learning, but no trades taken. We had an insane rally at the end of the day there. That's what a move. And then it's continuing into the after hours. So things might be, if we keep this up over the night and into pre-market, we might be opening up around all-time highs, which would be pretty nuts. So that's all I got for you. Thank you for watching. I do trade live Monday through Friday, so if you feel so inclined, stop by, hang out. I'd love to have you. That's all I got. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for watching. Peace out.